Some stories from Black history, they are not about triumph, they're about loss. And in 1944, a 14-year-old black boy was executed after a trial that lasted just hours. His name was George Stinney Jr., and his story still matters today. George was born in 1929 in South Carolina. He lived in a tiny mill town called Alcolu. A railroad track split the town into two: white families here, black families here. His dad worked at the sawmill. Because of that job, the family lived in company housing. George was just a skinny kid, 90 pounds at most, not even 5 feet tall yet. On March 23rd, 1944, two white girls, Betty June, 11, and Mary Emma, 7, they were riding their bikes. So they stopped to ask George and his brother about some flowers that were called maypops, and they wanted to know where to find them. That was the last time that they were seen alive. The next day, their bodies were found in a ditch. Both had been beaten, they had been beaten in the head with something heavy, like a piece of iron or something. The police arrested George the very next day. He was just 14. His older brother was arrested as well, but that one was quickly released. Officers said that George had confessed, but there was no paper, no signature, no recording, just three white officers saying that a black child admitted to killing two girls to them. And once George was accused, his whole family paid the price. His father lost his job at the mill. They were immediately thrown out of their house and they were homeless. George was kept alone. His parents were not allowed to see him until after the trial. And even then, they were only allowed to see him once at the penitentiary. They were not allowed in the courtroom either. So when the trial came, he faced it all by himself, a 14-year-old. The trial started April 24th, 1944. It lasted 2 hours. His lawyer, Charles Plowden, he was a tax commissioner running for office. He had very little criminal experience. He called no witnesses. He did not cross-examine anybody. He didn't fight. The courtroom was packed with over 1,000 white people. Black residents were not allowed in the court at that time. The jury, all white men. The state's case rested entirely on that confession that they said George gave. There was no physical evidence, no fingerprints, no blood, nothing. After just 10 minutes of deliberation, the jury came back guilty. And then the judge sentenced George to death that same day. Letters poured in begging the governor, Olin Johnson, to stop the execution. Even some white women even wrote in saying a 14-year-old shouldn't be killed like this. Johnston refused. In fact, he doubled down. He claimed that George had admitted to killing the smaller girl first to rape the older one, and that he raped her corpse and even came back later to try again later but found her body to be too cold. None of that was supported by autopsy or any evidence. He just said it. Those words were enough to silence every plea for mercy. On June 16, 1944, just 83 days after his arrest and only 54 days after the trial, George was executed in South Carolina's electric chair. Unfortunately, that date is also my birthday, June 16th. He was so small, they had to sit him on a stack of books. Some say it was a big Bible. The adult straps, it didn't fit on his body. When asked for his last words, he said, "Do you have any last words?" He said, "No, sir." When the current ran, witnesses said that the oversized mask slipped from his face and they could see tears. He was just 14 years old. 14 years old, 6 months and 5 days. He was buried in an unmarked grave. His family never stopped insisting that he was innocent. In later years, they testified that George had been with them when the two girls disappeared, and this alibi had been ignored in 1944. Some historians pointed to another suspect, a white man named George Burke Jr., whose family land bordered the crime scene. His father was even the foreman of the grand jury that indicted this little boy. Nothing was ever proven, but the whispers never stopped. For 70 years, George's conviction stood. Then in 2014, a South Carolina judge, Carmen Mullen, she vacated it. She called the trial fundamentally unjust. She said the confession was likely coerced, that his lawyer did little to nothing, and that a 14-year-old child could never have received due process. She didn't formally declare him innocent, but she cleared his record. George Stinney Jr., the youngest person executed in America in the 20th century. That's why his story still matters today, because it's Black History Month in the UK, and it's not only about victories, it's about remembering the losses too. Children like George, their lives were stolen by a system that gave them no chance. Thank you so much for watching this story. If you like stories like this, please follow me. I tell these stories all the time on all my social media. Thank you.